Welcome to the sustainability series, where men didn't just get back in charge, they stayed in charge. Now, most health transformations, they don't last. Between 80 to 95% of people regain the weight within 2 years. But the men that you'll meet here beat those odds. Not in perfect environments, but in the real world, whilst working, traveling, raising families, and carrying the pressures that come with being responsible for so much. Now, today I am joined by Paul Harknett, who completed the Back in Charge Blueprint nearly 3 years ago and has kept his results, his routines, his identity ever since. Now, this conversation isn't about what happened during the program, it's about what happened after, how he handled stress, setbacks, travel, work demands, life, and still stayed in charge of his health, his energy, and his life. So let's get into it. So, afternoon, morning, Paul. How are you? Good to have you here again.
Nice to be here. And it is, you're right, in March 2023, I think I started the program. So it is almost 3 years exactly. So we're pretty close to it. So, and I think if I can, I'll just think back what's happened in the last 3 years. Obviously, the program, brilliant, loved it. And we've talked about that a few times. For me, the things it teaches you are not only things that you can take into looking after yourself and investing in yourself, but actually some of the little things you learn about, your nutrition, how much water we really need to drink, how your body works, how your body reacts to exercise, whether you need to eat more protein. And there's lots of stuff out there about, how you should eat, when you should eat. But also the thing that was the real game changer for me was actually some of the meditation stuff. And actually the meditation for me has become almost something that I don't just do for like 10 minutes. It's sort of become inbuilt into my personality in a way, because it makes you more reflective. It makes you realize some of the gratitude stuff and journaling and just sitting down and going, what did I achieve today? Whether that's a work thing, whether that's a personal thing. And I'm a man who by trade delivers big changes, whether it's big changes for banks or with people, technology, all of those different things. So I'm always dealing with people and doing things. And I think for me, a lot of that meditation stuff has actually allowed me in, we'll call it stressful, high focused activities to just take a little bit of a step back, breathe through the activity, whether it's, I've got examples of, people are kicking off about something and you just relax, and I'm quite calm anyway. But it just lets you reflect and it lets you look at those things. But also measurement. Measurement is something that I do professionally quite a lot when you're delivering big things. But look at that as an individual, look at that as a human. And I suppose 3 years on from the program, I still weigh myself pretty regularly to see what's going on. But my belt and the notches on my...
And the notches on your belt.
are the ones that tell me, hold on a minute, there's something not going the way you think it's going. But then other things. I wear a Garmin watch all the time. I can have an Apple Watch, whatever watch it is, but it monitors my heart rate, it monitors all sorts of things, the sleep patterns, and I'm a bit of a stats geek anyway, so I love those things. But for someone of my age, my resting heartbeat is probably 20 beats less than it was when I was before the program. My resting heartbeat is in its 50s, and it used to be in its 70s. Now that's a combination of being fitter and healthier and sustainably fitter and healthier, because your heart rate and what your body's doing is a real indication of the level of fitness, basically.
Of course. So that's really good. That's really good. Like straight in there, you've shared straight away that your heart rate's improved. Like you're able to look at things differently. The perspective of things. Have a different angle of things, which is really good. To be able to stay calmer in situations. But let's just, before we go straight into all of that, but let's just have a bit of a reflection. Like, where were things at? Like, what was your health like? 3 years ago, and what was happening in your life? Like when you realised that something needed to change.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of things. I think I found you through LinkedIn, I think, from memory. And I think I was at that stage where, because I'm 6'5", so I'm a big unit, and I've always been a big unit, and therefore I can carry a lot of weight. And I think I was something like 128 kilos, which is over 20 stone plus. And at that point, struggling to walk upstairs, struggling to walk, actually, the classic thighs rubbing together as you walk, clothes not fitting, and just feeling sort of not capable. And that not capable physically was portraying itself into being stressful, being grumpy, stress eating, being grumpy at the wife, being grumpy at the kids, and just negative reactions to almost everything, basically, from, not wanting to necessarily go out the weekend with friends because clothes didn't quite fit, or it wasn't like that. Didn't want to go drinking because it was just I'm just going to get fatter, and almost a spiral effect of just negativity. And I think you have to almost slap yourself around the face a little bit. But I've been fit. I played a lot of rugby when I was younger, so I've been fit, and I've gone through cycles of being fit and not being fit throughout my life, and that sort of peaks and troughs. It was almost there was too much peak, and I was never getting away from it because I was never giving my body a chance to actually get back to, what does a fit body act like and how does it feel, but how do you treat it? How do you maintain it? And I think the visualization of perhaps I think I had a conversation with my older brother about the fact that my father had Parkinson's and Alzheimer's in his 80s and rapidly descended downhill. It's, well, what's your longevity? You get into your 50s and it's like, well, am I going to be here long enough to see my grandchildren? And you start having those thoughts and you go, well, hold on a minute. If I don't do anything about this, my body is the vehicle that takes me through my life. If I'm not looking after it, if I'm not doing the MOTs, I'm not having it regularly serviced, I'm not, giving it the right fuel, well, it's not going to last long enough for that. So I literally did slap myself around the face, I think, and thought, right, I've got to do something about this. And rather than crash diet or go crazy in the gym or combinations of that, I thought, well, the Back in Charge program is something different. And it's not only different in terms of the re-education about how to eat, what to eat, how to track your calories, how to measure things. It's actually the mental side of it, I think, which worked for me really well, particularly as the group gathers. You get to share those things with other people in the group. And I think you invited me back. I did the program originally, and I think you invited me back as a guest in early 24 to the team that were going on there, just as and this guy's done it, but then sharing that knowledge and things with other people, with other men going through the same thing. And I think also a lot of the prostate cancer guys and girls that you've looked after as well, in terms of the stuff that they are mentally going through, is just, the extreme end of, where you hope you never happens to you, but it's happening. So deal with it. Not only deal with that, but deal with your body. Look after yourself. And I think those things for me were the real big change. That was the real change, and the change I needed, because otherwise I would have just continued down the dark spire, and God knows, would have ended up having a heart attack about 3 years ago if I hadn't done anything about it. So and that, I think, particularly for men, because we're not great at sharing, we're not great at realizing we've got problems. I think nowadays a lot more mental health and a lot more understanding.
So is that the truth though? Do you think that is the truth, that men aren't good at realizing the problems, or is it that they're good at realizing the problems? It's just that they feel that they can't action anything.
Yeah, they can't do anything about it. It's the thing you're going to put off for another time. It's that, oh, I'll do that later, or I'll do that, or I'll, rather than having something healthy, it's quicker to just put the ready meal in the microwave and that type of stuff. And I think those are some of the things that you teach yourself to almost go, well, hold on a minute, there are much better ways to feed yourself. There are much better ways, and it's not expensive. You don't have to spend a huge amount of money getting the right proteins. Go and buy a piece of chicken. It's not complicated. You can get that chicken from your local butcher, or you can go to the supermarket. It's not the end of the world. But then walking more and exercising more. That I do. I mean, it's quite silly, but I do simple things like, if I go to the supermarket, I will park my car the furthest away from the supermarket. So it forces me to walk the extra 200 steps. So I'll get 400 steps by default. And when I go to the station, I jump up, rather than park in the car on the bottom of the multi-story where it's easy access to the station, I'll park on level 8 because I've got to walk up and down the stairs, and that gets me an extra 400 or 500 steps. Now that sounds quite silly, but actually it's forcing you to physically move. And I work, I like to stand up, but stand-up desk because it's better for my back, and I've had all sorts of back issues. But actually, it forces you to move. It forces your body to actually put itself in a good position. And I'm sitting down at the moment, but as soon as we finish this call, I'm off for a walk, basically. So you build those things into your day, and it's part of maintaining your body, basically, looking after it. And none of those things are difficult to do. It's just changing your habits to do so. And I think habit change is the biggest thing that sort of the program has taught me as well. I mean, I regularly drink, and actually I've got a nice big bottle that I'm a little bit through at the moment. I drink over 3.5 litres a day, every single day, quite easily. And most days I'm drinking like 4 litres. If I don't drink that, like, if I've got a day out where I've not got easy access to a drink, or I'm not taking one with me or whatever, then my body tells me that I'm thirsty, and I recognize it now. 3 years ago, couldn't tell you if I was thirsty or not. Now I know because I listen to my body more, and I think that's the educational piece that you get. It's not only the program itself; it's the things you learn, the things you understand about your body during and after the process, and the longevity comes from going, right, actually I am thirsty, I need a pint of water. Or I think the classic one we've talked about lots of times of you're feeling slightly hungry but you're not really sure. Do you go and grab a bag of crisps, or do you go and have an apple? And it's the apple test, isn't it? If you want an apple, then you're hungry, so have an apple. If you don't want an apple, have a drink of water. So it's all those little mental tricks. And we've changed stuff in our house where we've got more fruit, we've got more access to fruit, we've got less chocolates, and those things are sort of, my wife likes to nibble chocolates at an evening, and I love it a bit, so she can do what she likes. But I will, rather than having the chocolate, I'll go and get a satsuma, or I'll go and chop up an apple, that type of stuff. So it just changes the way you do things. And although you want the nibble, because all humans, we like to be social, you have a slightly healthier option, basically. And that comes through, the fact that you go and buy it rather than you buy the bag of crisps or that type of stuff. So it sort of changes your mental attitude, a lot of those things as well. And you look for the healthier opportunities, effectively.
Nice. So previously as well, you just mentioned that you started to notice, like you was putting on weight, the energy wasn't really there. Your legs was, the trousers starting to rub when you were walking.
Couldn't walk upstairs effectively enough.
So with that, like that's like the physical side, but what impact was that having upon you, and the things that you do and the people around you? Like, was it starting to have an impact, or was you at that tipping point?
I think I was. I mean, it's
like, it's hard to say because it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard.
I think it's with physical inability, we'll call it, comes mental. I'd say mental slowness, because if I compare me now to what I was then, I have a lot more, we'll call it mental capacity to either learn stuff or enthuse about stuff and get stuff done. I'm always been a natural doer, and I've always been a natural get on with it type person, particularly when it comes to work. But when you're struggling to get up some stairs to go to a meeting room, when you get to the meeting room, you're physically out of breath, or you're physically sort of trying to recover, and ergo your brain's catching up with what's going on. Yes, you can stimulate your body with coffee and whatever else to sort of get yourself back going, but actually you end up with peaks and troughs mentally and physically, and it's sort of you sort of struggle in and out of things. And I think for me, the mental struggles probably turned themselves into being slightly grumpier than normal, which I'm sure my daughters will tell you I used to be very grumpy about many things. But now I have the mental capacity to, when you're in the stressful situations, take the breath. Some of that's the meditations, but some of that's the physical capability. I'm a big unit. I've always swam. So I've got a big sort of capable cardiovascular system, but I was mistreating it. It was almost like, I was running a V8 engine, but it was completely not tuned. So therefore it's spluttering. It's not doing what you'd expect it to do. Whereas now I can say, is it perfect? I think one of your lessons is it's never going to be perfect. Yeah, and everybody's different. Yeah, what works for me may not work for other people. But the simple things of water and protein and that type of stuff should, and vitamins and that type of stuff, should be common because we're humans. We all physically work in very similar ways, and our genetics they're designed for us to work in those ways. But mentally, we're all completely different. But you've got to give your body an opportunity to be in a good way, so that you are mentally in a good way as well. So back then, probably grumpier, probably unhappy with the world, a bit more negative. Now I'm a lot more positive and a lot more capable of just getting on and doing stuff.
Nice. And that's it. So what would you say, like fast forward to now, it's like nearly 3 years later, like how does staying in charge look like in your everyday life?
For me, it's some of it's structure, some of it's common sense, some of it is measurement and balance. And I've sort of found, because I had a lot of back problems last year, for lots of different reasons, but very, very quickly on that one. I have some bulging discs in the bottom of my spine, L4, L5 and S1, which are right down the bottom where the sacrum is. Now, intriguingly, the specialist that I went to see before it said to me, well, any over 50, if you did an MRI of the whole population in the UK, 70% of people got bulges in your spine in some way, shape or form. But most of them won't be pressing on your nerves. Luckily for me, I had ones pressing on my nerves. And that probably came from, there's no real specific diagnosis of why. I sort of think I might have overdone it a few times and let it, and just sort of made the problem worse by over exercising and whatever. Yeah. But effectively, the way I got out of that, from like February last year to March last year, I was in constant pain. But what I got was physio, because that piece of your body as you get older, it's all ligaments and muscles. So if you stretch properly, if you exercise in the right ways, and you look after a little bit, but actually all my pain's gone now. But knowing that that's the way my body works, I sort of changed the way I exercise a little bit and the type of exercises I do. And I do a lot more flexibility work and sort of yoga stuff and Pilates. And I do, if I do an exercise session, I exercise at least 3 or 4 times a week, but I spend the first 20 minutes stretching. It's 20 minutes of stretching, and then I'll do the weight bearing exercises, and then I'll finish with another 10 minutes of stretching just to make sure. But that's learning how it works. And I think, so for me, then the morning starts with a combination of, the things that we used to do. Leave your phone alone for a bit, even though it's going to make loads of noises. Bit of stretching in the morning, and then, getting up, and then it's a balance of, okay, what am I doing today? Where am I going to be? Couple of times a week I'll be up early and I'll be exercising, so the stretching and everything else, protein-based meals, and making sure I'm getting the right amount of protein and balance, and I still measure it every day. Okay. And then fitting in the, what's the family doing, what's lunch, what are meetings doing, and sort of balancing the intake of protein and carbs and stuff throughout the day. And usually, as I'm working a lot at home, then the evening meal is with a good lady wife. So it's sort of, we get together in the kitchen in the evening. One of us is cooking, the other one's doing the crossword, and we sort of, tag team on doing that type of stuff. And you sort of build your routines around those type of things and making sure you're getting the right nutrients, the right vitamins. I'm always moaning at my wife and daughters that they don't have enough iron in their diet or vitamin D. But you sort of learn those things. And I think that sort of gives me a common sense structure around how I'm looking after myself and how I'm looking after the families. Where it's almost one of those things where, and I like to, spread the knowledge, I think is one of the things. And I've had many conversations when I've been in the office where I've got a big bottle of water and people go, oh, you drink a lot of water. And you go, well, everybody should drink a lot. You should drink a lot more than you think you should. And then you get into a whole conversation about how you hydrate and what things happen to you if you don't. And actually, there was a couple of the girls in the office recently where one of them said, I always get headaches. Headaches are my bane of my life. And I said to her, how much do you drink? what's in your diet? What about your iron intake, your vitamin D intake, particularly this time of year when it's dark and it's grey and all those type of things. So I had a whole conversation about it. And I said, look, don't take my word for it. Go and see your doctor or your nurse or whatever else. And she did. And she came back with a low iron, real big iron deficiency. So the doctor put her on iron tablets and told her to drink more. And you go, okay, perhaps I've learned some. And
I've learned it. That's it.
But those sort of things for me are ingrained now. So talking to people about how you exercise, talking to people how you even I think I saw it was something on BBC News not so long ago where so whoever it was, can't remember, it might have been an ex-Olympian who was talking about health and exercise. Literally 5 minutes a day. Doesn't matter what it is. Get up, stretch, move your big muscles and get your day going. And I think for me, I have those routines on the days when I'm not going to do a lot of exercise. And I usually do at least an hour's worth of stuff, and it's combinations of things. I will do 10 minutes of moving in the morning, stretching and moving. It's nice. Almost that gets you tuned into the day, ready to go, and gets your blood going as well, gets your cardiovascular going, and away you go. And even actually before, and I was talking to my daughter about this, not so my eldest daughter, just done she's got a new job, done a lovely interview process. And I said, before the interview, rather than sitting in front of the computer, get up, run around your room, run on the spot for 30 seconds, just to get yourself going and get yourself this big, because she works in sort of marketing. And it's like you're going to come across energized, infused, ready for the activity. And I sometimes do that before big meetings. If I'm on, if it's a Zoom call or whatever, I go, right, rather than just slouching in the chair, and I do like to stand, I will just, 30 seconds before the meeting, quick, run on the spot, let's go.
Yeah, prime yourself. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is.
And I think all of those things have become my habits, which are built into, the normal part of my life now.
Nice.
And that's the complete difference to where I was 3 years ago. It's sort of, those are ingrained. That's the things I just do without really thinking about it. The parking further away from the supermarket. My wife thinks I'm absolutely mad when I do that. But she gets the fact that it forces us to have extra steps and that type of thing. So,
nice. So those people around you, the people closest to you, so like family, friends, work colleagues, how would they describe the changes that they've seen you have over the last few years?
a real simple one from my youngest daughter said to me, probably 6 months after the program, Dad, it's nice to hug you and be able to get my arms around you. She could literally physically get her arms around my waist, whereas before there wasn't a chance in hell that she could have done that. And that for me was a real big sort of almost a personal goal, as it were. I've got to a size where actually my children have recognised, A, I've done the work, but B, they can actually give me a cuddle. And then when I see both of them, because one's at uni, one's working in London, every now and then you see them and they give you, and go, oh, you're thin, or oh, you're keeping away. You get the acknowledgement that, not only have you done the work, but you continue to do the work, sort of thing. And I talked to both of them about how they should exercise. The younger one cycles quite a lot, actually. She's at uni where she can actually cycle into uni. So now we have conversations about cycling, which when they were younger, dragging them out on a bike was almost impossible. So it sort of changes those things, but it's nice to get that sort of recognition from people. And even the simple things like a lot of the suits that I originally, I still have quite a few suits that are older than a few years old, but I had them all altered as well, and people recognize, they go, "Well, is that a new suit?" It's like, well, actually, it's an old suit. It's just been sort of slightly tailored to fit the new me, sort of thing. So,
but what was the suit though? I remember you saying that, with you just mentioning that. I remember you saying.
Yeah, no, I think I sent you a picture of, so the suit that I got married in, which is 20, just a bit. The wife's not watching. 1996 we got married. So the suit I got married in, I took great pleasure in the fact that when it was in the cupboard, in a cloth, in a plastic container, I took great pleasure in taking it out and putting it on for the first time in like 20 odd years or whatever it was, and fitting into it quite nicely. And I remember I put it on And I walked around the house and the wife went, "Is that a new suit?" It was like, "No, it's not." So that was brilliant. That was one of those pinch me moments. So
nice. That's really, really cool. Really cool. So how, like, previously, like, just compare, how would you have previously dealt with challenges, like stressful moments previously? And how does that compare to how you deal with stressful moments now, Paul?
I think previously, because I'm quite a naturally calm person, at the moment in time, you probably wouldn't have known I was stressed. But as soon as the call would finish, whatever, the first thing I'd probably do is go comfort eat for 5 minutes and have a grumble, have a rant. Now I think I'm a lot more considered and will take a breath, and won't instantly react to things. And that's probably, some of it's common sense, some of it's learning, some of it's just experience. But I think my mindset probably 3 years ago was more reactive. It was almost like, there's a problem, got to fix, rather than going, hold on a minute, let's just take a little breath and think about this for a second, and not let the stress reaction as well. I mean, before I used to stress eat all the time, basically, which was one of the problems, and was one of the reasons I got so big, and eating the wrong thing. Whereas now I'll be, okay, so we've dealt with that, or we've collectively agreed to do whatever's next. And yes, change happens. And being somebody who's worked in change for 30 plus years, it is quite intriguing how, as humans, some people deal with change very well, some people don't. And actually, a calm, logical way of taking people through that change process is actually what I've sort of developed innately now. It's almost, the last 3 years has helped that sort of, everything changes in our lives in all different ways, shapes and forms. We all get older, things don't work as you expect them to. Your family changes, the world changes. Our friend Donald is going to rule the world, and but there's not necessarily a need to overreact about those things. Educate yourself on some of these things, or take a little step back and go, hold on a minute, let's check those facts that have just come through on, I was talking to my wife about quantum computing yesterday, intriguingly, because there was a big article in the paper that was all about, oh no, it's going to ruin the world. It's like, hold on a minute. The research, if you actually look at some of the research, it's 10 years away from actually being anything valuable. But take a step back. If you take a step back from some of these things you're seeing, whether it's right in front of your face in a meeting, or whether it's stuff you're reading, just have a look at the detail. Just give your brain some chance to just reflect. And I think some of the meditation stuff that we did during the program, a lot of the things that the meditation stuff I do, and I use an app, and everyone uses that, but a lot of the things that those teach you, it's actually, you're not trying to stop your brain doing things. You're not trying to just get yourself into a Zen moment. You're actually just giving yourself the ability to breathe and let your brain process. And I think if you give yourself those things, that's probably one of my biggest changes, is that mental side of stuff, to be honest. And it's the mental capacity or mental sort of space you give yourself, but then lets you go, hold on a minute, I'm not picking up a chocolate bar, I'm going to go and get the apple, and I'm going to go and move, and I'm going to go and get the apple. And then that helps you just be completely sustainable in the things that you're doing, basically, and looking after yourself. I think that's one of the keys for me. It's the seeing what happens to men in their 50s. Let's face it, the stats on things like prostate cancer are absolutely frightening. Well, you've got to look after yourself. You've got to do the various tests. Go and do a blood test every year. Get your doctor to check you, or get one off of Amazon, and if it's high, then go and see the doctor. You've got to look after yourself, because if you don't, well, no one else is going to do it for you. You can't lend your body out to an Olympian for a week and let them get it back into tune. It just doesn't work.
Certainly not. No, that's it. You got to take responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the I think some of the simple things in the program about live the way you want to be the person you want to be. Now that's going to sound quite some people say that's hairy fairy, but it's you've got to realize that if you want to you want to be beach body ready, well, you've got to put the work in. If you want to be able to take your grandchildren to the park, you've got to be ready for it. And therefore, you've got to be living in a way that's going to enable you to do those things. Don't assume it's going to be great. And I think as I get older, I think I was saying to you earlier, for me, I'd love to think that I'll still be working in some way capacity well into the 70s, because I don't think I'm done in any way, shape, or form. And I've got a lot of things I'd love to think I can mentor people, I can help them, I can do stuff. And that enthusiasm about getting up and doing stuff is because I'm, mentally and physically capable of doing it. So why should I not be getting out there and doing it?
Nice. So I was smiling again, like with what you were saying, is what we say in the program, isn't it? Be to do, do to be.
Yeah.
If you want to go and play with the kids on the beach, well, then you've got to go and play with the kids on the beach. You've got to be in that physically capable to do it. So I'm pleased. Like, seeing so many things that you've taken away. It's really, really good, Paul. It really, really is. Really, really is. And how you've embodied it all. And that's great. So finally, Paul, what would you say for the men who are watching who feel stuck or out of control? What would you want them to know?
I think there's a really lovely, simple idea that if you keep doing the same things and expect stuff to change, it's never going to change. You've almost got to do the slap yourself moment, or to actually go, hold on a minute. If I'm struggling with my weight, struggling with my health, struggling with just physical capability, mental capability, I'm sort of stuck in a spiral. Well, don't keep doing the same things, for God's sake. Just do something different. And whether it's coming to do the Back in Charge program, or whether it's just starting to walk more, drinking more water, all the simple things, well, just do it. There's nothing stopping you looking after yourself. And I think that for me becomes and a lot of men, I think, we have this conversation quite a lot of times. My role is I look after my family. I love my family to bits, and I want to do everything for them. But if I don't look after myself, how the hell am I going to look after them? So you've got to do what's important to you. How do you shape yourself to look after you first, so you can look after other people, or you can be fitter so you can play with your grandkids, or whatever it is. What's important to you? Look at the things that are important, and then make the changes to do whatever you want to do next, basically. And if you're in the spiral, just slap yourself around the face and get on with it. It's almost one of those, take the Nike approach and just do it, basically. Oh my God, there's an advert. But you've got to take responsibility for yourself. You can't, your doctor's not going to fix you. Your family are probably going to be your biggest supporters for anything that you try and do. So just do it. Tell the family, tell your wife, your kids, everyone around you, right, I need to lose some weight. I'm going to do these things. I'm still going to come to the pub and watch the football at the weekend, but you know what? I'm going to drink the non-alcoholic lager, or I'm going to drink, water. But I can still be in the pub having a good time. There's nothing stopping you doing that. You can still go and do those things. You can still be social, but you don't have to drink, the pint of lager that's got 700 calories in it or anything like that. You can choose an alternative, but still be in a social environment where you're enjoying yourself. In fact, you might enjoy yourself more because you can remember it. You've got to make those simple changes that then gives you the physical and mental capabilities to enjoy your life. It's as simple as that for me. It's,
nice.
Crack on and do it. It's as simple as that.
Exactly, that's it. Like you said, take responsibility, make a start, and when you notice that things are starting to spiral, that you don't need to make the drastic changes, just make a little change in the right direction, and that's all it's got to be.
Marginal gains. I mean, it is. I mean, people say a lot, but it is. It's those simple things that you can either drink more water, you can eat more fruit, you can just do more steps. There's all those little things that you can do, and there's loads of help out there. But for me, the ultimate thing: come and join the Back in Charge program. Why the hell not?
That's it. But no, thank you, Paul. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day today. Really, really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And again, sharing your story again. It's just nice to remember those things, those wins, those those experiences that you shared with us back in the day. And say, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. So, thank you.
Pleasure.
So thank you for joining us on this episode of the Sustainability Series, where most men, they don't struggle to lose weight. They struggle to keep it off, especially when life is busy, it's stressful, and it's also unpredictable. What you heard today is proof. You've heard that long-term change is possible, even for men that believe it wasn't. So if something in this conversation resonated, or if you feel like you've been holding everything together for while your own health is quietly slipping away, that this is your reminder that you can take back control and also that you can keep it. I'm Adam Alexander. Thank you for watching the Sustainability series, where men didn't just get back in charge, they stayed in charge.